You know that feeling, right? You turn out the lights, and suddenly there's this alertness, this little voice in your head that says you're not alone. We usually just laugh it off as some silly childhood fear. But what if I told you that being afraid of the dark is actually one of the most rational, most ancient instincts you have? So let's just dive right into it. Ask yourself this: when you're in a dark room, what are you really afraid of? Is it the dark itself, or is it what the darkness could be hiding? Forever, we've been told it's all in our heads, just our imagination running away with us. But it turns out science is revealing something much, much deeper. Something that's physically happening inside our brains. So let's get one thing straight. Your fear of the dark, it isn't a flaw, it's a feature. It's an ancient survival program that's been hardwired into your brain over thousands and thousands of years. So now, let's pop the hood and see how this thing actually works. Okay, first things first, we have to go inside the brain. Because as it turns out, the simple presence of light acts like a switch. It fundamentally changes how your brain actually processes fear. Right, let's meet the main character in this whole story, the amygdala. The easiest way to think of it is as your brain's own personal alarm system. It's this little almond-shaped part of your brain, and it's constantly scanning for threats. And when it thinks it sees one, bam, it fires off signals that put your entire body on high alert. And here's what's so fascinating. Light directly flips the switch on this alarm. So look at the column on the left. When you're in the light, activity in your amygdala is actively suppressed. It's calmed down. But now look at the right. In the dark, that safety brake is lifted. The alarm is unchecked. This makes you way more likely to be startled, and it cranks up your anxiety. Light is literally a natural tranquilizer for your brain's fear.
And look, this isn't just some theory. A major study in PLOS used fMRI scans to watch this happen in real time. And what they found, in their own words, was that light directly suppressed activity in the amygdala. The effect is real. You can actually see it and measure it.
So we know the amygdala is the one that sounds the alarm. But that alarm bell doesn't just ring in one place. Nope. It triggers a system-wide cascade that sends your entire brain network into a state of, controlled chaos. To really get this, you gotta think of your brain less as a collection of parts and more like a social network. You've got connections that are like friends. They work together in these really stable, balanced ways. But then you've got other connections that are more like enemies, and they create tension and instability in the system. And these charts show exactly what happens when fear crashes the party. Check out the chart on the left. In a normal, calm state, you've got a lot of those stable, friendly connections. But when fear shows up, that number just plummets. Now look at the chart on the right showing the network's instability. When fear gets introduced, the whole network's energy or tension just spikes. Your brain is basically tearing down its calm, stable connections and shifting into this high-tension, unstable state. But this chaos isn't random. There's a purpose to it. The brain is deliberately breaking its usual flexible network to reconfigure itself into something much more rigid and focused. It's shutting down everything that's not absolutely essential to pour all of its resources into one single goal: survival. This is that feeling of being paralyzed by fear. Your brain is literally freezing non-essential functions to deal with the threat. So this all begs the big question: why? Why on earth is our brain hardwired to react so dramatically to something as simple as a dark room? Well, the answer is buried deep in our evolutionary past. To get the answer, we have to rewind the clock way, way back. For most of human history, we were not at the top of the food chain. Not even close. We were prey. And the things that hunted us, they were most active at night, which is exactly when our main sense, our vision, was at its weakest. In that world, fear wasn't a problem to be solved. It was the essential tool that kept you alive till sunrise. And that powerful instinct is our inheritance. And this quote from Science Alert just nails it: that ancient fear of predators hasn't just vanished. In our modern, pretty safe world, our brain is still scanning the darkness for a threat. And when it can't find a real one, our imagination just makes one up. The monsters under the bed are just stand-ins for the saber-toothed cats in the grass. So how does this ancient brain wiring cope with the 21st century? I mean, the threats have changed, for sure, but the trigger, darkness, is still just as powerful. Just look at this. It's the exact same alleyway. During the day, your brain just sees it as a path, no big deal. But at night, all those ancient fear circuits kick into high gear. Every shadow, every doorway suddenly becomes a potential hiding place. The fear of predators has morphed into a very modern fear of being attacked. but the neurological reaction is exactly the same. And this is not some niche feeling that only a few people have. Get this, research shows that a staggering 40% of Americans are afraid to walk near their own homes at night. That evolutionary hangover is still very much shaping our daily lives. But the story doesn't stop with external triggers like a dark alley. It actually gets even more complex, because our own internal biology, our unique body clock, what scientists call a chronotype, can make some of us way more susceptible to this fear than others. So generally, we fall into two camps. You have larks, who are your classic morning people, and owls, who are evening people. Well, a fascinating study found that while larks tend to have pretty stable anxiety levels all day, owls report significantly higher anxiety symptoms, and here's the kicker, specifically in the evening hours. And that, right there, is the paradox. For night owls, the very time of day they feel the most awake and the most productive is also the time when their brain chemistry makes them most vulnerable to anxiety and fear. Their favorite environment is also their most neurologically threatening one. So, what all this really tells us is that this fear is a fundamental part of who we are. It's a neurological echo from a time when the night really was full of monsters. And this leaves us with one last big question. For thousands of years, this instinct kept us safe. But now, in a world that's flooded with artificial light, are we silencing a vital part of our survival code? And what might the consequences be?